Attorney General Becerra, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Scott.
You're going to be filing a lawsuit probably next week against the Trump administration for phasing out DACA. Can you tell me what is the basis for this lawsuit going to be?
Well, every one of us in this country has grown accustomed to talking about our constitutional rights, whether it's due process, whether it's equal protection, whether making sure that the federal statutes that apply to everyone are enforced in the same way. We believe, and we believe we have a strong case to make, that those laws, those constitutional protections have not been enforced in an equal way, in a due process way, and certainly in violation of the procedures under the federal statutes.
Now, of course, New York and 14 states and the District of Columbia filed a lawsuit earlier this week. Will the legal basis for California's lawsuit be different?
Very similar. There will be some differences, but very similar. We've been working with those 16 attorneys general. We're working with several other AGs as well. We're working with some of our partners here in the state. You may have heard that the UC system has just filed a case as well, and we've been working with them. And so I think what you're finding is that this is going to be a battle that's fought on many fronts. But what we need to do is just make sure we're defending the dreamers.
Why not just join with the other states, or with UC for that matter? Is there a strategy, a legal strategy, of having so many different lines of attack, basically?
Well, you want to make sure, as I said, you have various lines of attack, so that way you can go after the enemy as best possible and come out victorious in battle. And in this case, I think what you're finding is that there are many ways that you can address these legal actions taken by the Trump administration. I believe that what you're going to find is that in these several actions that will be filed, there will be kernels that are very similar in all of them, but they all will take a slightly different approach. And remember that in California, we have the most dreamers who are affected by the president's action on DACA. In fact, we have more dreamers in California that are affected by DACA than all 16 of the jurisdictions that filed in New York earlier this week.
What would you say to critics who might say, well, you know, this Becerra guy, he just didn't want to share the spotlight with New York and these other states. He's going to be on the ballot next year, and this is just a way for him to get more attention. What would you say to those critics?
I do what I need to do to protect the people of California. I do what I believe is the best way to protect the people, and I'm going to do that. I have joined in some lawsuits. I have initiated some lawsuits. I will do whatever I think is necessary. I say that not just as the Attorney General. I say that as a son of immigrants. I know this issue well. I worked it for 24 years in Congress, and we're going to do everything we must to try to make sure that those DACA recipients, those dreamers who came forward, are paying taxes, went through background checks, are creating jobs, that they understand that in California, we believe they're helping build us, and we're creating more jobs, and we want to protect them.
We just heard Congressman Jeff Denham say that he supports DACA, and he'd like to see a resolution come from Congress. Do you think that ultimately, given that DACA was on somewhat shaky legal ground, that might ultimately be what's best for these DACA recipients?
Scott, first, yes, I do believe we have to move towards legislation at some point, but no, I disagree that DACA is on shaky legal ground. What DACA represents is what presidents from Eisenhower on forward have done in the past, and that is use their executive discretion to determine how best to enforce laws, and in this particular case, immigration laws. Talk to Ronald Reagan. Talk to George Bush Sr., who did the same thing, in fact, with greater numbers than what President Obama did with the DACA program. It is fully lawful. It's fully American in its values, and it's been wonderfully successful for so many people and for our states. So I believe the ultimate solution must come from Congress, because the DACA program is only temporary. A president cannot create new laws, but the president can determine how to enforce those laws, and that's what the Obama administration did. It gave us a roadmap on how to enforce immigration enforcement laws.
Just a few seconds left here. When do you think you're going to be filing that lawsuit, and where?
Soon, early next week. We'll probably be ready. We're trying to make sure that what we do is file what we believe will be the strongest case possible with the best information and evidence possible. We want to make sure that we get this right. And so we're going to file when we're ready, and we think we'll be ready by early next week.
All right. Attorney General Xavier Becerra, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Scott.